Well, the Vice President gave us her manifestation that the OVP can live without the confidential funds, no, to the tune of 500 million pesos. But then the OVP included it in the proposal submitted to the DBM. Siguro ang tanong ko, which I always ask, no, in fairness to the DOLE, tinanong ko sila when they have a program, sabi ko, what would be the legal basis for your agency in asking for that funding? So I will ask the OVP the same question. When you looked at the Constitution and any other law, I don't know if there is a law mentioning a mandate or a role for the OVP. So what legal basis led us to, in the first place, include it in our proposed budget, that 500 million pesos confidential fund?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the basis for our request for confidential funds is the Joint Circular 2015-01, wherein Section 3.7 defines the confidential fund, refers to the lump sum amount provided as such in the GAA for NGAs, in appropriation ordinances for LGUs, and in the COBs for GOCCs for their confidential expenses. It is not, the law does not enumerate the NGAs that can request or cannot request for confidential funds.
Actually, that circular it's a joint agency circular, actually governs the use of the confidential fund. So practically, it's about the use. So the only basis now for the grant of confidential fund would be either a specific law or it's because of the GAA. Ganun po ba yun, Madam President? Madam Vice President?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the fact that there is a joint circular 2015-01 for the use, it presumes and assumes that national government agencies are allowed or can request confidential funds. Because otherwise, there will not be a joint circular for the use if national government agencies cannot request for confidential funds.
And then, if I heard you correctly, the Office of the Vice President has requested, because as you interpret the Joint Memorandum Circular, the NGA can request. You have requested because it will now supplement or complement your PAPs, and you can safely implement your PAPs. Is that the general reasoning, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, that is for the safe, secure, and successful implementation of PPAs, programs, projects, and activities and engagements of the Office of the Vice President, including the crafting of policy recommendations in my capacity as co-vice chair of the NTF LCAC. I mainly rely on the Office of the Vice President with regard to my work in the NTF LCAC.
Yung NTF LCAC, ma'am, does not have its own access to intelligence or its own experts or consultants already providing advice to the NTF LCAC members for policy?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, I cannot answer for NTF LCAC, but I, as a co-vice chair, mainly rely on the resources of the Office of the Vice President when I do my work for the NTF LCAC and when we do our discussions and recommendations in the NTF LCAC.
You have a personnel complement of 354, and I think in your MOE you can also hire consultants. Hindi po ba pwedeng idaan sa more normal budget items po ang if that is what we need, inputs on possible policies that we can come up with, or professional or expert advice, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, mainly the confidential funds is used under Section 4.8, the enumeration in Section 4.8, Joint Circular 2015-01. These are very specific, and this cannot be found in other uses or line items in the budget. Thank you.
Kaya nga, ang confidential funds kasi is you buy information eh. If you need information for policy, you do not buy information. You have consultants to properly and professionally give us their opinions on certain policy questions, Mr. Chairman. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think confidential funds should be mixed with the need to come up with policies, Mr. Chairman. But at any rate, that's my opinion, and the Vice President, I think, already expressed her opinion. Ma'am, okay. So, we formed a congressional oversight committee on the use of confidential and intelligence funds. Did the Vice President, Office of the Vice President, comply by submitting at least, hindi pa naman tapos ng 2023, yung 2022, whatever funds were charged to confidential funds, did you comply by submitting parang the necessary documents required by the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, we were able to comply with the repertorial requirements of the Joint Circular 2015-01. We were able to submit to the Office of the Senate President, the Office of the President, the Office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and the Commission on Audit.
Thank you for that, ma'am. So, I'm talking about year 2022, kasi I think the boxes are already in the Office of the Senate President, and we are about to convene our committee to go over the expenses. It's good that you complied for the year 2022. My only problem is it's a legal question. For the year 2022, there was no line item for confidential funds or expenses for the OVP. And yet, you're telling us now that the OVP liquidated a certain amount as confidential funds for the year 2022. And then, and this may be connected with the information we got that the Office of the President charged to contingent fund 2022 and transferred to the Office of the Vice President 221,424,000 pesos. Is this a correct factual statement, Madam Vice President?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, I cannot answer to the amount. The amount is correct. Yes, the amount is correct, and that is correct. We requested confidential funds to the Office of the President as early as August 2022, and we were only granted the confidential funds on December 2022.
Thank you for that very frank and clear answer from the Vice President. However, ibalik ako sa legal question ko. That is practically an augmentation, di ba? Na we added something to the tune of I think of the 221 million, the OVP liquidated 125 million as confidential funds. And then parang na-augment for year 2022 kasi ito eh. There was no item in the OVP budget for confidential expense in year 2022. So it's not even 1 peso. It's nothing. It's zero. And then it's not even mentioned in the line item budgeting for the OVP. And yet, at year's end, calendar year 2022, we will now have an entry of 125 million pesos charged to a line which did not exist at the very beginning. So how do we justify or reason out this situation, Madam Vice President?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, we requested it from the Office of the President and it was granted through the Department of Budget and Management. I think the Department of Budget and Management can better answer the question of the transfer of funds from their source to the Office of the Vice President. However, but nevertheless, we complied with the reportorial requirements of the use of the funds as confidential funds.
Sige po. So, I'm back to my original statement. I'm just actually raising a legal question kasi I know budgeting is quite a complicated field of legislation. Maraming technical terms, maraming mga mechanics, yun na. Pero ang akala ko sa budgeting 101, kailangan may bahay. Tawag nila dyan, bahay. If you intend to increase or to put something, dapat may bahay, may tagasalo siya. So, and in this particular case for calendar year 2022, yun lang po napansin namin na wala. Opo. Ngayon, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, okay. So I thank the chairman.
May we ask the minority leader to wrap up perhaps with this last question, if possible?
Can it be a last set of questions? Mr.
Okay,
Chairman?
okay, go ahead.
We have been informed that the OVP proposed 5.7 billion pesos as their budget and was given by the DBM for the 2024 NEP 2.38 billion pesos. Is that correct, Mr. President?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the question will be answered by Mr. Kelvin Tenido, the Chief Budget Officer of the Office of the Vice President.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. We propose a total of 5.7 billion to DBM, and under NEP, we have a recommended budget of 2.38 billion, sir.
Okay, what did you recommend? How much? 5.7?
The proposal to DBM was 5.7 billion, sir.
So, kaya nga, in your planning, you wanted to ask 5.7 billion for the calendar year 2024 as your budget, but you were given only 2.38 billion. Ano po ang matatamaan sa mga plano ninyo na hindi na fund nitong NEP?
Significant portion of the portion of the proposed budget was lodged under the capital outlay for the land acquisition for the permanent office of the OVP, sir.
How much?
That is 2 billion, sir.
So, sa lupa pa lamang, okay, sa proposed site, sa proposed project of a permanent OVP building, lupa pa lamang po ito, 2 billion pesos. Tama po ba, Mr.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
2 billion. Last year, for this year yata, 2023, I think we appropriated 10 million pesos for down payment. Nagamit po ba yun?
That's correct, sir. We have 10 million under FY 2023 JA for the OVP, but as of to date, we are still negotiating the cost of the property.
And so that means we already have a target property. So may we know where is the target property?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, Undersecretary Lopez will answer the question.
Yes, Your Honor. Initially, thank you, Vice President. Initially, one of the identified areas was the Coconut Palace, no? The area of the Coconut Palace. It is still undergoing negotiations, but the Office of the Vice President is also considering other locations, Your Honor.
So wala pang nabayaran ng down payment in effect. Okay. So and our NEP approved budget is 28 million pesos more than our 2023 GAA.
Talking to BCDA. They're also talking to BCDA. Baka maging able.
Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, Mr. Kelvin Tenido, the Chief Budget
Cal-
Officer, will answer.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
I noticed the decrease in professional services. Malaki, 100 million. What happened there?
Mr. Chair, initially, we have projected number of contract of service for the 2023 since the change of administration from 2022. But now we have made a request for PS positions so as not to incur or engage a COSP personnel, sir.
So yung pagbaba ng professional services, umakyat naman sa PS?
Yes, sir, supposedly, but still under review of the DBM.
Kasi yung bottom line budget niyo is up by 28 million. Siguro, Mr. Chairman, that just to be fair to the others, ito last na lang question siguro sa, you have a personal complement of 354. This does not include the security personnel for the Vice President. Is that correct? Numbering 400 plus ba? Is that correct? Sa news reports na lang po namin nakuha, how much and how many are the security personnel for the Vice President?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, yes, the Office of the Vice President, approximately 300 personnel does not include the Vice President Security and Protection Group. The Vice President and Security Protection Group personnel are personnel coming from the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police.
So anong tawag mo doon? Parang composite pala siya. Composite, so the budget necessary for the salaries of our Vice President Security would be found in two agencies, the AFP and the PNP.
That is
Tama po
correct.
ba yun?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor, yes, that is correct.
Siguro when they are before us, doon na lang kami magtatanong siguro sa budget nila on the security complement for our Vice President. But at any rate, I have seen the Vice President in action, Mr. Chairman, in the field. Although she may have let's say lots of security details, she is very approachable. The people can approach her. Hindi naman kami sinushu away. I mean, just to keep her safe, but she's very approachable. Nakita ko siya sa palarong pambansa. And then personally andun ako, and sa iba sa footages na we can see that the people are not really parang turned off by the presence of overbearing security. Siguro pero sa budget lang po kami nakatingin because kailangan maging frugal din po tayo at saka kailangan na tayo ngayon, value for money na ngayong panahon. So thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the responses from the Vice President and the Office of the Vice President. And
Thank you.
Siguro yung hindi natin na-cover doon na lang sa plenary po, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator
Thank you.
Minority Leader,
Mr. Chair.
Senator Pimple. Yes, please.
Yes, we are okay to answer questions from all the members.
Yes, ma'am.
If in case they still want to ask.
There are a few left.
questions.
There's Senator Revilla, then there's Senator Tolentino, Senator Estrada, Senator De La Rosa. Just four more, ma'am. Would you like to take a break for a health break, for instance, before we proceed? Here we will.
Yes, may we request a 10-minute
Certainly.
break? Thank
Certainly,
you.
ma'am. Thank you.